Well, I'm at 5 arrests, according to James Craig, the chief of police here in Detroit, compared to more than 60 the night before. Definitely a big change. And as you can see behind me, there was a lot of cleanup happening, though things did get pretty intense, very messy as they're cleaning up the streets. Police Chief James Craig said at one point that the 5 people that they were arrested, that some of them had actually had coolers with rocks inside that they had appeared to come to throw them. We saw some rocks in the ground as well as a number of tear gas canisters. Over on the right, those porta potties, when we first arrived, had been tipped over into the street. They have now been righted. But this right here at 3rd and Michigan is the center of where police and protesters clashed. Chanting for justice for George Floyd and calling for change. Hundreds took to the street for a second night in Detroit, taking over the street, at one point stopping traffic, marching onto the 375 freeway.
We allowed them to go onto a restricted freeway.
Among the demonstrators, faith leaders were visible joining the march.
And if you're a pastor, you're supposed to feed the sheep and protect the sheep. I can't hide behind the pulpit in this hour. I have to be here for my people.
As the hours passed, day turned to night, the unrest grew. Faith leaders tried to intervene, but some in the crowd turned violent.
You can see that the agitation of the group was starting to grow. And it was at that point we said, and then they started propelling various objects at the officers.
7 Action News reporter Rudy Harper was there in the middle of the chaos as anger grew.
The situation got out of hand. People started throwing things at officers, started throwing rocks, water bottles. Someone threw a firework.
Police deployed multiple rounds of tear gas to disperse the crowd.
We're patient, but when you start attacking the police officers, that's when enough is enough.
Our crew saw fireworks continue to be set off as more tear gas was deployed.
Some of them were throwing rocks, firecrackers, water bottles at officers. You just heard another loud boom.
The crowd finally dispersed around 1 o'clock in the morning. No injuries or significant damage was reported. Police Chief James Craig says they are prepared for more demonstrations today.
We're going to be here in full force. We're going to continue to remain very professional. Again, we support the protests. We do not support law breakers.
Well, last night, as protesters took over the streets, police were there but allowed them to take over the streets. It's here where you see those barricades, those barrels knocked over. That was the point where police decided to stop protesters. They wanted to make sure they didn't get any closer to headquarters. And this, as I mentioned, is where that clash happened. Cleanup almost complete at this point. We'll continue covering as these demonstrations and protests continue throughout the day. We will be there and bring you the latest. Reporting live here in Detroit, I'm Jennifer Ann Wilson, 7 Action News.